Hey, good evening, everybody. Hope all of you are having a great week. It's been a pretty eventful week. Crazy trading. Seems to have been bouncing. So I hope all you guys have been doing well. I know I've been doing so, but it's pretty fun to see the turnout of the market, especially after a few weeks of us ending up red every single day. Hope you guys are doing your Christmas shopping too and not just donating too much of your money to the market. This time of year is a time for family. So hopefully you guys are spending time with your families too and not too focused on the market. I know it is we have the we're stuck in this mindset of we need to do something every single day as a trader, but hey, it's good to take time off too. And if you haven't taken much time off this year, remember the market will always be there. And I hope that you guys are spending this season um, around family and just trading a little bit off the side. I hope you guys are not taking too much uh, focus into the markets. I know we do want to be at our best, but also resting help us um, do well too. And especially in crazy times like this, you know, um, we do need to take a rest. So, but for those of us who uh, are still trading, let's analyze the market together. All right. So I'll begin. Um, we'll see how many people join us, but I'll begin to not waste anybody's time. All right. So let's bring up our usual look as SPY. So we've seen that SPY, after a few weeks of red, right? Since the end of November, it's been going down, bounced off to 50, looks like in the last day or two. It has formed some support and then we bounce off today. This is a good sign. This is something that I wish I was just played. So also another confirmation as to why I trade the way that I do, right? Could have just gone with a position that just get in based off the price level at the s- the 50 EMA, this purple line, and set a stop somewhere down here and catch that swing. But I didn't do that. I tried to be a little bit more active, and I did win some, I did lose some. I think I pretty much am even with the market, right? So diving down, let's dive down to the hourly and see what has happened. So we can see since November 22nd, we've been trending down. So this downtrend move. And so we had that the 50 image crossing below the 200 hourly here, right? So that's a confirmation. So every time it was bouncing off this 200 here was a good pattern. And today, the events of yesterday and today helped situated us back over this 200 and this 50 EMA again, right? So the moving average has crossed over on the hourly, which is to me is it's a very bullish sign, meaning it's very good, for buyers. And if we zoom out at something that is even further out, right? Dates that are further out. Let's go 90 days. When we see this cross here, right? The market trends tends to trend to the upside, right? Upwards. It doesn't mean that it can't go back down because you can see definitely see here, right? It likes to peak down below here, but we always want to keep that as our sign for going long versus short, right? So when the opposite is also true, when we see right in the last 2 weeks or so, we can see that the market was it did a cross. So this is opportunities where we want to short more than we are longing, right? And if anything, I would just be picking shorts whenever it does pop up. But now that we have crossed, you probably want to wait for it to come back down. Once it comes back down for some support somewhere, right? Establish a new pattern, then you can start picking swings to the upside, right? Now, I did go a little bit against my normal play just to see how it will play out, right? So a counter trend play, meaning today I tried to pick tops, which I've been very unsuccessful at. Was try to pick something up here, right? Get a put up here and catch the ride down. So maybe there was a base forming somewhere down here, and so I got to put close near to market close today and try to swing it down. But don't do what I do. That was just an experiment. It's very low cost to me and my portfolio, but that was just a way to test what's gonna happen. And so if you're seeing the technical is telling you that is telling me, and hopefully you are interpreting it the same way, is that more likely the market is going to continue going up on the hourly basis. Now, this also lines up on the daily because we see the daily, we see price bouncing off the 50. And you can see this pattern has been uh pretty normal or pretty repetitive, throughout the year, right? Just going back a year, you could see every time it approaches the 50, it seems to hold it and bounce off. This we struggle for a few days, but we did bounce off again here. Struggle for even more. We went down for a few days to about a week, and then we bounced back up. So always pay attention to this pattern because that's what's gonna make you money. That's how you're gonna swing trade. What you're gonna base it, where you're gonna base your decision off. So I hope you guys are paying attention to this, right? Pattern here. And one thing that we have to hopefully hopefully we break out of this 473 resistance area here, right? We haven't touched 470 today, so maybe tomorrow we touch it. If not, we could probably come back, right? We come back down to this down here around 460, 455, that range before we maybe bounce back up. But I think that's what could be happening. So that's still one area that we have to pay attention to because we don't know for sure if it's going to be range bound or if it's going to be another breakout, right? Another breakout as it's forming new highs, it's slowly grinding up higher. But from the looks of other things, other stocks, right? We look at the uh, market watch today, the heat map, we can see everything is green, right? So very different from what we saw last Thursday and last Tuesday. Last Tuesday and Thursday, everything was red, right? Thursday, there was a few red over here, but a few more green here. And then today, Tuesday, we're seeing everything be green. So very different look of the market now. Now, is that saying that the market cannot fall? No, it's not saying that. Is that saying that we're going to continue going grinding higher? No, it's not saying that too. It's saying that the conditions right now are going up, and based off the analysis, right, the technical analysis that I'm using, we are more likely to go up, but we want to see what pattern it's going to follow, right? And you might not trade the same way I trade, but if you do trade the same way, maybe follow along, right? So that's just based off of mine analysis. I think it could go back down to about 460 tomorrow, maybe form a base around 460 before we go back up. I like it when it bounces or shows me a good pattern like that to follow going forward. Or this could be a false breakout again, and this could just go lower, right? This could go right straight down again. That's one possibility, right? One possibility is that it goes to 465, 463 range for a bounce back up. Another possibility is just goes straight down again. And then the third possibility is we have a breakout, right? Breakout makes all time highs, breaks the last high of 473.50 and keeps going up. So that's two possibilities, or three possibilities that could happen. And you just want to play what you see, right? Playing what you see. So if you see a breakout, play the breakout. If you see a bounce or looking like it's going to bounce here, play this bounce. If you see a breakdown, play the breakdown play. You just need to have those ideas of what could happen in the market and then play it. Okay, so that's SPY. SPY is doing well this week. We have 2 green days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Monday today. Now let's take a look at Apple. Okay, so Apple's been doing well. As the market was SPY was going down, Apple was going up. Now I often hear people say, "Oh, Apple or SPY usually follows Apple." Well, I want to just clear that that's a little bit misleading because it's not SPY that follows Apple, right? It's usually, oh, it's not Apple that follows SPY. It's the other way around, right? Because Apple is a component of SPY. So when Apple does well, and Apple is actually like almost 7% of SPY. So when Apple does well, it tends to pull SPY upwards with it. And when we see the mega techs and a lot of the bigger names do really well, they push up SPY too. So it gives it the illusion that these are following SPY, but indeed SPY is following them because they are components of SPY. Right? So people do not get that confused. So as SPY was dying, Apple was actually grinding up higher, right? The last few days, even the last month, right? So we compare the two. Let me bring up where is it? It's here it is. So as we are looking at it, right? Let me sync the crosshairs. Oh, different stocks, so it won't sync up. Actually, it'll sync up date. So you can see as SPY was going down, Apple was remaining steady and Apple was going up. Okay. SPY was going down, and then today, big old green. And also reflective of it, Apple was also really green. So people always mistaken that, or if they make the wrong assumption, right, or they have the wrong understanding of it. So I hope that people understand the difference. Okay. So we see the bounce here. So Apple did make a set a new all-time high today, 170, 170, 150. So I'm kind of wondering what it's gonna do because everything seems to be grinding higher, um, and we have seemed to have shown that this is a pretty good support level. So the 160, we tested, one, two, then we had this breakout. So tested it twice. This is a good support level. Wondering if when we're gonna come back to the 160 level. When we do come back here, or maybe even we come back to the 165 level again to show that this is a new support. I think it will drag the market down. But I'm unsure if it's going to happen within what we have left in the year. Um, Maybe we continue to grind forward, or we continue to just sideways for the rest of the year. So we have about 3 weeks left in the year. So 3 weeks. Right? So maybe we sideways like this, or if we don't and we slowly grind forward, right? If we slowly grind upwards, I think we might see 180. That's if we slowly grind forward. But if we just sideways, this could maybe 175 could be the highest it could go. And then it just sideways for the rest of the year. Right? Or if it comes back down, come back down, the area to watch is 165 and 155. Those two areas that we want to pay attention to. Right? Now, as we've been seeing things come down, right? We also want to pay attention to VIX. VIX is a measure of volatility in the market. How much calls or puts are being bought up, or out of the money calls and puts. And we could see that it was it actually was pretty high. So on Monday, right? Monday we were here. So in the 30s. Friday we were all the way up at 35. So these are actually pretty really high, right? In reference, this is 5 years. So in reference, look at this. This was last week. This is this week. The last time we had this was back in August, not August, January 2021. This right here was October of COVID year 2020, and this was COVID. Right. So the rest of the year we were pretty low. So looks like we are gonna come back to all these lows right here, back to 16, which is a good place to be. When it's low, when the VIX is low like this, we slowly grind forward. We slowly grind up. So we have to pay attention every time we see a spike like this. We see the volatility increase, and the relationship that has been shown so far is that we see it grind up and then we see the market fall. Until that becomes untrue, we want to continue watching for that. Okay, so let's buy AMD today. Now, AMD is in an interesting spot too. If we're playing the break or the bounce, I think it's still a very good spot to get in. Now, is it gonna go and set a new all-time high? It could, but I don't within the time left in the year. It's very possible, especially since we've seen this candle. Like this is a good candle to see. You see the shorts being all bought up here, and especially followed by this candle, right? So maybe this could be a play right here. Bounce back up to 165. Right, 165 will be a new all-time high. So the 50, this pattern where every time it comes to the 50 is still showing to be true. But with that being said, you don't want to trade without a stop. So you still want to trade a set a stop down here, especially if you're swing trading. If you're day trading, you dive down. As I talked earlier about SPY and the 50 crossing below the 200, right now we're still seeing that. So if you're day trading, I wouldn't. I would still be more likely to just look for the opportunities to short. Right? The opportunities to short because we still see this pattern right here. Um, we haven't shown that there's enough momentum to carry it forward and up, right? Up and over. We can go back let's go back 90 days. Right? Go back 90 days. Every time it's over the 50 like this, I'm always just looking for the bounce here so I can get into a position for the day. Right? And then when it's below like this, a shorting opportunity, looking for shorting opportunities. So we're not trading back and forth because when it's like this, you're not picking bottoms. You're just seeing where it tops out at and then shorting it down. And when it looks like this, right? Technical looks like this 50 over the 200, prices over the 50 and over the 200, looking for long positions. Same here. You can see when you see on the hourly formations like this, you're going back, you want to find shorts, and that's more, the odds are more in your favor. Right? So that's what's happening on a shorter time frame down into the hourlies. That's what you want to play for. But on the daily, it still looks very good for a long position, especially if you're swinging, right? So day, you look on the daily, you have the mindset of going, at least a week, if not even more, maybe like 2, 3 weeks out. Then you would be getting a position here, probably setting a stop somewhere down here at 132. If anything, and you're putting the two together, right? The hourly and the daily together, and what has been happening, you could be telling yourself, "Hey, I can probably wait for it to come back down a little bit more." And when it comes back down closer to this 50, maybe it is a better risk to reward, meaning I'm risking a little bit less money, and I can set a stop somewhere below the 50 daily here and get more of a position out of it, right? Because on the hourly, right, when we look at the hourly, we still haven't seen a formation of the 50 moving average going above the 200. Not yet a bullish sign. So that means they could still retrace, right? Tomorrow, maybe we can go back down lower, back down to test these low, right? This low of 134 again. So that's not out of the question. Or if we see tomorrow and it opens up even higher above, maybe above 180, 148, 150 here, you probably see this line cross, right? In that case, then it is good to maybe get into a position. But we want to hold for that confirmation first. Okay. So that's AMD. Tesla's been showing that it's bouncing. We still want to be careful because this pattern, we've shown that we've broken down here. So we don't know if it's going to come back up to this level, around 1100, and then bounce back down, right? Die down. Or if it comes and breaks this and form a new pattern, right? So anything could happen at the moment. But right now, this is what I see. Right? It's still below this right here. It broke down here. Even though it's holding itself here, it has broken down below this right here. So we could probably maybe come back down and hang out in this area. Or we think this is gonna be forming a new move, right? This pattern is now done and over with. You're broken down here. Maybe this continuation, a continuation here, or it consolidates. Everything going into a reverse or a bull trap. Now, that's really up to your interpretation of it. You know, I for me, I don't you know, for me, I don't know. To be very frank with you, I don't know. Um I just see I just see what I think could happen, and I play the one that I play the opposite situation that I think could happen the most. Now, That's why I always advocate that, hey, when you get into a position, set your stop because whatever you think could happen might not happen. And so that's all you have to do, all you can do going forward. No one is going to know for sure. There's always just that 50-50. Maybe you have maybe it's 50, 60-40 whenever, but there's always guesswork in it. And so I always advocate that, hey, you need to have a stop in place because, or if you don't have a stop, trade the position that at its maximum, it will only lose you, maybe 1 or 2% of your full portfolio. So you don't end up hurt. If you're not sure, maybe even go less than 1%, maybe half a percent of your full portfolio, right? So bull trap or reversal, I don't know. It could be both, right? It really depends on the market and what the market wants to do. Um, and I'm not in this game to try and predict anything. It's uh it's not a game of being right. It's a game of being playing what you think is gonna happen and adapting to what will happen or is gonna happen. Right. Yep. Yep. I can take a look at Ford. I don't know if you are in the Discord or everything, but I made this observation that um, Ford, as a general, every time Ford makes a high or makes a multi breaks a all time high here, it always likes to crash. So like here, it just dies. 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 Dies. So, um, right now Ford has been making a new high. It made a new high that hasn't been there since like 2015. Um, so at the moment, it's trending pretty well on its 50 daily, right? 50 daily. Sometimes it likes to bleed a little bit on here. You can even say that the 200 is probably a better entry, but the 200 you have to really wait for. The 50, if you take a chance on it bouncing off its 50 every time it approaches it, sometimes you have a shorter turnaround trade, but you also take more risk that your stops will get hit. So you can see this, right? The last 2 years, this is what's been playing. So for me, if I was to play Ford, I would try to get it as close to 18 as possible. Below 18 will be good, right? Ford is it's very liquid, but it's a stock that doesn't move too much because the market cap on Ford is just way too big. If we look at the market cap, right? Fundamentals, right? So this is Ford. I think market cap is like 12 billion or something. Actually, no, 3 billion, almost 4 billion, right? 4 billion outstanding shares. So it really it's very slow moving, but it's one of the stocks where you see the setup here, right? You see it, you buy it, and you sleep on it. Meaning you don't look at it anymore. You just if it triggers, it triggers, and if it gets stopped out, it gets stopped out. But if it keeps going, just keep going with it. As you can see, it moves very slowly, right? Throughout the day, right? It takes from here, from the end of October to now, right? It went from $12 to $21. So you're not gonna see huge moves in it, but over time you will. And with Ford, something like Ford, I would probably even argue that just playing off of the weekly is probably the better play. Because if you look at the weekly, the pattern that it's been forming, every time it approaches or gets close to this 50 weekly, it likes to bounce off, right? So you see it here, 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 and that's the pattern that's been forming. So if we continue thinking that this will hold up, you might even think that it could fall down to this area, about 15, right? 15, 16, or if it falls down really fast, right, it could go all the way down to 14. But if it falls down at the rate that of this right here, right? So we go somewhere here, we could meet it at 16, maybe even 15, right? That's what I see in Ford. And if you're playing Ford, I recommend playing off the weekly. You have to babysit less. We can dive down to the hourly, but the hourly right here just looks like some noise for the last 2 weeks. It depends on what your definition of soon is, right? Because if your definition of soon is within the next 2 3 days, probably not. Because if you're playing off of the weekly, right? If you're playing off of the weekly, this could be something that takes about a few months to form out, right? You see this right here? The last time this fell, it was July and it didn't reach its bottom until October from here, right? So we think that this is gonna go down and try to reach its bottom. 15 or 16 might not happen until maybe April or May of next year. So soon could be a few months if you're playing off of the weekly, right? So it's not something that's going to take a few days. You see the move on Spy, not Spy, the move on Ford takes a lot of time to generate. So just be patient with it. My recommendation is if the platform of your choice allows it, just set an alert or just set an alert because if you have an order open, it's gonna freeze the money that you would need to purchase the shares that you want. So don't do that. Just send an alert, and maybe when Ford hits that price, it sends you a text or an email or a notification on your phone that says, "Hey, buy Ford at this price," because you looked at this like months ago and you agreed that it was going to be good area to pick it up at. So that's my recommendation for Ford. I'm sorry, but I can't see who asked me the questions, so I don't know who I'm answering, but hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so let's move on to so we looked at Tesla. Now let's look at SoFi because due to the jump today, everything is coming back. Even SoFi had a 5% gain today. Now, the reason why I always look at SoFi is because it's a new stock, it's a small cap, and it has the potential to the explosion potential, the thing that everybody wants, right? Everybody, you hear about the people who make like 1,000% gainers on their shares or like 500, 600% gains. And I believe SoFi could be one of them. It's small enough, low enough, and has the right amount of attraction to it. And right now, I think it is a good time to start buying into it, right? Because you can see this range, drew this range a few for however long that we've been looking at it, right? So it's something that's been there since the beginning of 2001, right? We've been following it. This support line right here down at 16 is a good pickup. Right? Every time it comes to down to 16, it might bleed a little bit down below, right? Get to 15, gets about to close to 14, but it comes back and it comes back and test this the ceiling at 2450 again, right? So I have some belief that it's gonna come and do that again. Now we see this formation, right? This here, test, right? Lows and then test high, lows and highs again. So I'm curious to see which side will break first. If it's going to break below here or if it's going to break above here. To me, seeing that it's holding support at the moment, I want to see it come back and test this right here. It's at 2450. And if it breaks 2450, I believe we can rock it up. Okay. On the weekly. Still looks very, very good, right? 50 over the 200. That's one things I look for. On the yearly, as a new IPO stock, it's holding itself really well, right? So this 50. And if it didn't have the attraction of people, I think it would have died already, right? So somebody out there is holding, and uh, they're definitely paying attention to the support level. Definitely something that you have to be patient about too, because you can see it takes months to get all the way back to 2450, and then you know within the course of a few weeks it comes back down, right? So if you think that that could happen, maybe you start a small starter position now, right, with a stop somewhere down here around 1450, and see if you can catch the ride up to 2450 or maybe 25, right? So from there, I think it's almost a $9, $10 gain, right? So let's explore if you were to put $1,000 in it, right? It's just in shares. We're not gonna worry about options right now because there's a lot more things in play. So right now, if it's at let's say 17, so $1,000, you get 17, uh, 17 for the price, right? You can get about 58 shares. So 58, and so let's say those 58 share goes up to 2450. So you make back your thousand and you make $400 on top of that, right? Pretty good for a trade there where you place it and then you basically forget about it for 6 months, right? Set your stop down here. So if it does come back down and break here, you get out. And if not, you just continue to stay in. And if it breaks this, maybe you instead of getting out completely, you set a stop just right below here at so you don't take it at 24, but you set it right under at 23. So if it reverses 23 again, you get out small, uh not the maximum, but you give it opportunity to run and break out above 24. Which the more times the resistance gets tested, maybe it gets weaker and weaker. The more time the support gets tested, it could also get weaker. But it's also showing that there is some the more time a support holds, there is some people buying it at this level and keeping the shares afloat. Right, that's one thing to pay attention to. Um, it's another one. Let's see, what's another lower stock that everybody else is paying attention to? That could also be very good for you guys. Let's look at NIO. I know Chinese stocks has been getting hit pretty hard lately. So it did break down below our structure that we formed. Right. So I drew this right here. And it did break below, but not significant, right? Not a significant amount. I would even say, we saw it bleed a little bit here, but it went back into this formation. Now it does look like there is still some support here, right? Some buying here whenever it did get it shoot down all the way down to 29 here, right? Close to 29, 30, almost so it broke down a little bit below 30, and then got bought up. So that daily candle right here, that doji, basically showing that it got sold and it got bought up, right? So here, so this day was just a flat day, which is good. It's a good thing. You know, there's people buying it up down here. So if you play this pattern, this could be a good area to pick up because you definitely set a stop right here, right? Right below this swing low here. So maybe 29.50 or maybe 28. However you wanna how deep you wanna go to give yourself the most opportunity to stay in that trade daily swing, and you could probably get out up here around 40 and still be a good trade because it could be bouncing in here, right? But I definitely think that it could uh break out. Still has breakout potential, and the it holding here is actually a good sign, right? So we see it here, the pattern that it's forming on the weekly, right? Still good. So if you believe in NIO, this could be a good area to pick it up at for a swing trade. For a day trade, you might be looking to pick up shorts because, like I said, the 50 is still under 200, but definitely pay attention to this, right? This huge candle down and then just gets bought up like nothing. So if you do get any put or try to short it, and you see it struggling when it approaches 30, meaning if it goes to 30, it goes a little bit below 30 and gets bought up right away, that could be your signal to get out. That means that there is somebody down there or some bodies down there that are just buying up everything. And we've seen that on SPY too. Let me go back. I'll show you on SPY. Friday. This was Friday. This was this was Friday, Monday, and Thursday, right? Every time it approached 450, it got it got bought up, right? A- And when it creeped down below 450, it kept getting bought up. And I did see this, but I wanted to be stupid and short it some more, right? I should have just paid attention to it, what I was seeing, and hey, I seen this. Maybe I just get this. I would have been better off if I just played off of this right here, saying every time I saw the 450, it was getting bought up and was holding its grounds. Right, could have been better, but what's done is done. We can only try to improve upon it. And IO is showing the same thing. So if you were to short it on intraday, right, tomorrow, if you were thinking that it's going to go down, I would pay close attention to when it approaches 30. But if you're thinking about swinging, I would actually swing it to the upside, right? Catch it and set my stop somewhere below 30 and try to catch it to the upside. That's NIO. NIO. Okay. For those who have a portfolio that they're really trying to build up a long-term portfolio, I want to share this with you guys because I think this is a great opportunity. This is Disney. Disney, we all know what Disney is. We all know what they do. The princess, Disneyland, movies, franchises, Disney Plus streaming. They have a lot of things going for them. And for a long-term investor, Disney is a great stock to be holding. They have staying power. They're not something that's gonna be dying anytime quick. Off of the weekly, it's a great pickup if you're gonna play off of the weekly. You know, uh, it hasn't really been paying attention to this 50, but the 200 is great. This yellow line, the 200 is great. We saw this giant wick down, touch it, and boom, bounces right back up. So right here is a perfect play. You can set your stop somewhere down here at the 140, right? And just catch it to the swing up. That's a $60 move to all-time highs again. Right? That's a great time to invest. Really low like this. On the daily, you don't want to play too much on the daily because Disney just doesn't make any sense on the daily. But you can also look at the monthly, which if you're looking to long term, meaning multiple years of holding, just look how stable the price has been on Disney. Every time it approaches the 50 monthly average, what has happened? This was COVID, right? You see the recovery, but then it goes right back to structure, right? Here, very few times that it has it bled below the 50. So the 50 is a very good pickup, especially if you're a long term investor. So around the 50, add some shares. If it can go below 50, even better. Yes, you will be hurting in the short term, but think long term. If you're a long term investor in multiple years, think long term. Think in terms of years and how much it can grow and continue to produce, right? And also, Disney has a dividend, has premium on um, it has premium on its forex. It has premium on its contracts, right? Not much, but you can get a few dollars for every 100 share, right? A few dollars every 100 shares, plus with the dividend over the course of a year, you have yourself a pretty good stock, right? Especially a good stock that's continued to go, right? Disney, very, very, very good. Has a lot of staying power too. So when it's hurting like this is when you want to be looking for an opportunity to buy. And right now it's at the bottom of its 50s moving average on the weekly. Oh, no, not on the weekly, the monthly, which is good. Great opportunity. It's at the 200 on the weekly. So great pickup area. But don't try to trade Disney. It's on the daily. I don't think there is enough movement to make it really worth your while, unless you catch a really random time like this where it gapped down and just kept, you know, dying. Yeah, but that rarely happens on Disney. We can even look at it going back 5 years. Right? It's trends. Whenever it trends really well, but then it has these periods of times where you don't know exactly what the trend is. Right here, so I wouldn't recommend just trying to swing trade Disney. I would recommend just buying and holding and investing into the future. Right? That's Disney. Another good one, SQ, that's been really beaten up. Um, so really beating up means that the daily is going to be trash to us, right? The weekly is going to be good too. The weekly is going to the 200 again, like Disney 200. It's really beating up, so 200 is a good pickup. You can see there's sort of a bounce here. I don't know if it's going to go lower or higher. If you guys know how to sell puts, you can try to sell put and collect premium until you get a sign. You can do that, or you can just outright just buy shares, right? So it's up on the yearly, it's approaching its 50s. So the 50, so 140 is a good price to look at. And if it doesn't go all the way down that low, maybe like here, you can see this monthly candle is showing that there's some buying pressure here, you know, shot down, but it gets bought up. So definitely a great thing to pick up. If you can sell puts on it, right, you have time to wait. You don't want to rush into share. Keep selling puts on it, right? You can definitely keep selling puts, right? There is premium at the moment. There is premium. You can go to this week, right? You go to 180. If it drops to 180, oh well, you pick up shares at 180. You want it for long term, right? If not, you collect a free $100. You can keep doing that every single week, right? The 170 here, the 180 over here has $300. The 170 here has $120. You keep doing that. And if you do get assigned, the premium helps with the cost average. Because if you keep collecting it, right? If you were to get assigned at 170, well, you take the premium and you minus that from 170. So your cost average is actually around 169. That's one way of doing it. If you have enough to do 100 shares, right? So as Q, the whole sector is really beating up. So if you look at uh Visa is also good, right? You can see on the monthly, right? Really beating up stock right at the 50 or close to the 50 here. And Visa's stock has been doing really well throughout the number of years, right? That it's been around, right? So it came from 2000 IPO all the way back here, like 2008, 2009, and it's just been trucking up, right? So if you see it here, this could be a golden opportunity for you. Just gotta be patient with it. It's a good long-term hold. Mastercard's the same. In the world, Visa is better than Mastercard, but in the stock world, Mastercard is better than Visa. Mastercard's stock seems to move a little bit faster and perform a little bit better, right? You can see Mastercard. So here could be a great pickup for whoever wants to long out, right? If you have the mindset of a long-term trader or a long-term holder, you could definitely get it. Oh, same thing, right? The monthly, right near the 50. We rarely see this happen, right? Saw it here, but other than that, we haven't really seen it. And this could be a good pickup, right? Maybe if you think that this event plays out the same, right? So if you do, and we are at the bottom of it, right? At the bottom of this was at 92, right? It shot all the way up to 310, right? Not saying that the exact same thing could happen again, but if something to the same magnitude happens again, right? Even just going to its highs at 310, right now it's at 190, right? 310 is about it's 100%, right? So here to here is more than 100%. So what if it goes even higher? What if it goes to 3 or 400 or a 400, 500 range? So a good pickup. So you can't go wrong with a sector that's really being up, especially a sector that is has staying power that could be around for the next like 20 years or so, right? Things like PayPal, Square, Visa, MasterCard. People depend on those. They use it. Okay. Let's also look at SQ. Oh, SQ did hold. See, went into this little range here, broke into this little range about mid-year, midway through 2021, right? Stayed in here. We saw it come back down. It shot up and then came back down. Got sold off in the last couple of weeks. Right, it's right here, parabolic move, and it bounced. So maybe it go back up and test 40. Right, maybe it even go even a little higher. Right, parabolic move, but realize that there is a range here. So if you realize that there is a range there, you could just buy at the bottom, sell at the top. You just keep doing that back and forth, right? That's a pattern, and if you notice it, play it. Right? If you can afford the risk, play it. I definitely think it's good, especially something that could be a big player in the future. QS, pretty low stock too, cheap stock. Oh, so crazy that I need to zoom out so much. All right. Let's see. Now, if anybody has anything they want me to look at, for sure, just let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to look at it. If not, I'm just gonna keep on looking at stuff that I'm interested in. So Here's a stock that I believe has some potential. Ping. Now, what really attracted me to this stock is I've been paying attention to it. And what's been crazy about it is that we see, I don't know if you guys are aware, but we have a Discord group, and this is free to all members of HIC. I keep sharing the link. Disregard the name because the name was just, so we put it in something to make to basically make fun of how crazy we can get when we like to gamble. But basically, we have these bot commands that let us know more things about the stock. Now, one thing that really drew me to Ping was the amount of institutional ownership, which is in the high 80s, almost 90% of it is owned by institutions, which is really crazy. The short float is very, very low. And the float, right? This is the float, 69 million daily average volume. So because it has a lot of institutional ownership, I think it could be something that is very good, especially when it starts catching more wind for people, right? I like the formation of the monthly. This is something that I plan to hold long term, multiple years, maybe 5 years out into the future. So we're here 5 years out into the future, right? So going to 2022, we're going all the way out here, right? I think we have some room to go up, right? I'm getting, this is right around where lows are, right? We draw the support and resistance out. This is a support area. I said this is the resistance, and this right here. What would say it's an even bigger resistance, right? If it can make it up here, right? So on the monthly, that's what I'm seeing. We can see that shows up on the daily and the weekly. So we go from monthly, weekly, daily. We draw it that way, and if it shows up, that means that that area is pretty good. It should be an area to pay attention to. So we see support here. So like I said, if it's a stock that you want to invest into long term, or if you want to just swing it, you want to pick it up close to resistance. Oh no, not resistance, support. I mean support, and then get out at resistance. So support's here. First resistance level is right here at 28. So about a $6 move up, right? This likes to move up pretty fast, right? You see here that took about a month, right? But it did spend a long time in here. So looking to see if this is happening or if this is happening, right? And then it has the potential to go all the way up to here, which is at 34. So a pickup right here is good, especially since it has about close to 90%, right? So 89.4% institutional ownership means that there is a lot of big players looking at this stock. And if they're looking at this stock, maybe it should be something that you pay attention to too, right? And one thing that's really good about the stock is the sales per share is positive. The earnings has been bad, but the last 3 years before that, it was positive. No dividend per share, right? No dividend per share. Earnings per share is what you want to pay attention to. But I think it does have potential. Let's see, free cash flow. So the free cash flow is positive. So that's also very good too. So I definitely think that this stock has potential. And this is, they do the IT, they're like an identity platform. So it's definitely good. Good pickup. Good little stock. I don't know if anybody's aware of this. I think, I don't think it's in the same stuff as a Pltr, but identity is something to pay attention to. So we also have to look at PLTR. I know it's a little bit quiet now, but definitely pay attention to it because there is some support here. We've seen it touch twice here, right? So once here. Right? I just drew this line out, but because we've seen it twice here already. I say the more truer support is right here above, at 20, but we've seen it bleed down twice already. So we can put a support here just in case it comes back and touch it again. So this is a very good support. And as you can see, if you buy here, maybe it has the potential to go all the way back to 27, right? So $7 up move. That's a good trade, right? And $7 up, or maybe if it goes all the way back up to 40 and break up, right? So, but regardless, if you do think the stock is a good stock for you to hold long term, it's a very good area right now to pick it up, especially since it shows some sign of support here. If you don't, if you are questioning yourself, maybe you can wait a few days. It's not going to move too crazily, so you have a few days of waiting. It's not something that's going to be just like overnight. So you have a few days of waiting. It definitely is bouncing off the support here. So I'll end it here tonight at with PLTR. And I just want to thank everybody for just joining me tonight and watching these series. I do these for uh the new um the new traders, especially someone who doesn't really know how to look at charts yet, don't know how to analyze it. And I do admit I'm not always accurate, but sometimes we just have to, and sometimes we just have to have a way we can reference the market, right? And so I just want to share how I reference the market, how I play the market, and uh how do I uh plan for uh my inaccuracy of judging the market, right? By setting my stops. Having those stops, helps me when I'm wrong. And I don't believe anybody is 100% accurate in the market. You might have a string of times when you are right, but nobody is 100% accurate, right? You might be right for a few trades or maybe a stretch of time, maybe a year, 2 years or something. But eventually the market does change, and whatever you do does change. And it's always a question of, um, what the market's going to do. So I do this for a lot of newbies, a lot of people who are beginning, and I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. Definitely, don't just trade off of what I say. Do your own analysis on it, but you know, I just wanted to share what I see in the market so that maybe you can develop a feel for it too. Well, with that, I'll end it here. And Merry Christmas to everybody. I know we're getting close, so I hope you guys are excited and in the Christmas spirit. Well, with that, I'm just gonna sign off. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one and have a great trading week.